Shut up.
Uh,
So I think we're live now.
you think
Um,
so?
yeah, well, I hit go live on Facebook, but let's pause for a minute while it syncs up because the first thing I want to do,
It says it's live now on my phone, Tim.
that's good.
Yeah. It's
So it's a
great.
win. Now, the first challenge I would have for everybody is, hey, if you're coming into the stream and you're wanting to make sure everybody sees this, so we have a little bit of collaboration,
Right.
is share it out. So you do that by clicking when you're in it. I think, well, in the desktop mode, how do you do it in the share? Friends watching now. Oh, yeah, right below in the comment box on the desktop, there's the like, comment, and share. So you just want to click share. It'll give you a drop down, and you click share off that. And it'll say share on a page you manage, and you want to click down to share on your own timeline. And then we're going to say, I'm going to say, come on over and join us.
Ta-da.
You want ta-da to be in there? Okay, ta-da.
Sure, why not?
Because that's the magic words that
Sue's
Todd.
on her. She likes the page.
Oh, yeah?
Amazing. Yeah. She can't see us, though.
She doesn't see the live yet?
I don't know.
I see it. I see it right now. Oh, look, and my son just brought me water.
You gotta click it. You gotta click it.
All right. And I will this time try to pay more attention. Although last time I thought I was paying attention to the live stream comments. Somebody type a
Yeah.
comment in for me. See if I can. Someone type a comment in the current box so I can see if I see it over there in my one screen.
Yeah. Is Sue
Like
typing?
Sue, type a comment or something. Or maybe. Oh, Susan
typed
says
hi,
hi,
Mary.
Mary.
Oh,
Okay.
hi, Mary.
See, I don't see it on the desktop.
You see it? She
Yeah,
typed
it's 'cause-
hi, Mary. So.
Now type something else. Type one more test.
She's typing something else. She won't tell me she's correct.
Oh, my mom types I love. See, it doesn't refresh on the desktop. I'm just gonna leave my phone up.
No.
Yeah.
People don't want it.
Oh,
You're
and then
right
she
there.
says, "FYI, Todd, Mom says she loves you even more." And then Zach just joined. Zach, shout out to Zach. Zach Bauer joined. We got a new. He's a newly married man in the stream.
He's got the tracking device on. Yeah, he's got.
Sue
the
says
ring.
hi to Jack. That's right. So now we basically have got some of it's in that budding part of romance where it's called newlywed.
You know, Sue calls that the bubble, the love bubble. Tim.
So he's in the bubble. I think it lasts longer. You know, I have a theory, and today's episode of Only on Fridays is about the Supreme Court, but we're going to BS a little bit at the beginning to let people get on.
Yeah.
But I believe I always tell my boys in dating, there's a 3-month window where
3 months.
you can be anybody you want to be. Like, let's say you're dating somebody who's way out of your league. You can act like the guy that she would be dating and trick her. But after 3 months,
You gotta be yourself.
you can no longer, the farce can no longer live. Oh, and Carmen joins. Carmen, what's up? You're actually in the same house with me. So she's saying hi in chat. But in marriage, Todd, I believe
Here we go.
because it's a higher stakes game, I think you can expand that window almost to a year.
Real what? The love bubble?
The bubble of, where it's like like where you close the door when you go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Where you actually, dinner's over and you're like, hey, let me do the dishes. Where
Yeah.
she needs feminine products and you're like, I'll go to the store for you.
Yeah.
That bubble.
Yeah. See, those things should be happening even to this day, Tim. Not just to you.
For you. Oh, that's
It's okay if you're slacking.
all right. Well, Carmen is going to not have a happy day then because she's just heard me admit to everyone that I'm bad. I'm a poor model for a husband.
No. I think everybody's love bubble's different. Everybody's got different rules, Tom.
Okay, so it's like a gravity, different forms of gravity.
Yeah, that's it. You know, what's your reality? You know, that's about it. So that's it.
I feel a lot better now that we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Oh, and there Dan Bauer has joined. What's up, Dan?
Dan the man is on.
We got Dan the man on. I told him this morning we were going to be talking about Supreme Court, and he said he was going to study up.
Well, see, that's kind of good, though. I can see Dad doing this.
Yeah.
Now, yeah. I can.
Yeah. So we'll see if he
Maybe
has
it
any
makes
questions.
sense that it's our father.
Now, if anybody gets on the call, now remember, share out to your friends. Click on the in your app, like if you're in the mobile phone, it's in the bottom right. Click it out and share it to your timeline so people know what's
Tim,
going on.
I'm not touching or clicking anything.
No, Todd, you stay away from the device. You've got
I'm not
enough
touching
challenges. We don't want you.
It
But
would-
people that are
yeah.
more technically competent than Todd, where if they touch their device, it continues to function, share it out to your friends.
Yeah.
Dad's probably in the camp with you.
Yeah, exactly. I could go bad. I could unravel the whole thing.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so here we go. So today's thing that we posted was it was intrigued by the recent conversations in media around the Supreme Court. Not so much about it being discussed in the debates. Oh, Mark Brown joined. What's up, Mark Brown?
Mark Brown.
Yep. But it was interesting because nobody talks about the Supreme Court, but yet there's articles being discussed where the GOP is saying if Hillary gets elected, which is likely, the GOP is saying they're going to block any appointments she makes. And I'm like, they are worried about this.
Well, how's that changing? They're blocking it now.
But so clearly to them, there is something big going on with the majority.
Well, yeah, it's called I can't have my way. That's what it is.
There's some, but maybe they feel like having your way is really important. Having your way with the Supreme. And to me, if you went up and asked somebody, "Hey, man, can you tell me why? Why does the Supreme Court matter?" If you asked me that, I'd be like, "Well, I don't know. They
just
they're important.
The laws. That's it.
I would say
What's
they're important.
constitutional?
They're important."
What's
But-
constitutional?
And I'm being a little hard on myself, but I wouldn't have a very good answer for their weighted strength versus the other branches of government. I'd be like,
But what's crazy is it's just like these appointments are just, and they all freak out about this. What I love is these guys kind of go rogue though, because now it's gotten to the point where they go through and they go through the vetting process, and they got to be approved by the Senate, right? And so everybody's just like, okay, we've got the perfect candidate, and they push it through. But then they get in there, and then they're their own rogue man, and they make decisions that they weren't supposed to make according to their party, that whether conservative or liberal, whatever that is, and it cracks me up. It's just like, okay, they're actually doing their
so
job.
they're secret. So it's like their sleeper cell. They're sleeper cell candidates.
Yeah. It's kind of like Bourne,
And Mom just says,
but-
let's say
yeah.
Citizens United. That's the one way they matter. Okay, so she's saying
Yeah.
Citizens United. The case most people do know about is Citizens United. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But that is a case that has been kind of a lightning rod for demonstrating the power of the court.
Right, exactly. But the Supreme Court is kind of like the wild, wild west of the government. People don't know about it. I didn't know about it that much. I'm telling you, it's exciting. So,
Yeah. Okay. So me being me, as I said in our summary blog post, me being me, I got to thinking about it. So I said, well, let me go dig around. Let me see what I can find. And here's some tidbits that I got that I thought was interesting. First question I asked myself was, well, how long has the Republicans owned, in effect, or been happy with the balance of the Supreme? Oh, Todd knows. Did you read the
I
article?
know. I read it.
Okay, how long is it then, Todd? I guess we'll let you.
The liberal court ended it. I learned this from your blog, Tim.
Thank you.
I read it.
Thank you.
I read it, or at least the first sentence of it.
Okay, well, what?
1969.
Repeat the sentence you read, Todd.
No, I can't repeat it because I remember 1969 was the last year it was a liberal court. Ta-da!
That is correct. It was strange because I didn't realize this, but Nixon got to appoint 4 Supreme Court justices in his term. 4.
Right.
4.
Nixon the gunslinger. All right,
4.
good.
And they didn't ever think that was a big deal, but in a second, when they debated the second time, it was a huge deal to Nixon.
Yeah.
Mom's saying you still had diapers on. Well, she said we both had diapers on.
Well, yeah, but we were still.
But see, I was supposed to be in diapers at that time, Todd. I was maybe 1, but you would have been 3 at that point. Diapers at that stage for you was a little
Mom
late.
just doesn't want to embarrass you online, Tim, and she can't tell.
I was
everybody.
pretty quick.
I
I think
was out of diapers. Like
I
within
think
6
I knew.
months.
I think I knew at an early age that bodily fluids and functions and fecal matter were not part of what needed to be around me.
Yeah.
Unlike Dana that would actually, play with it, But we digress.
We do digress.
So Nixon got to appoint 4 guys, and so the GOP, or at least the bias they would like to have on the court, has been in place for almost 45 years.
Exactly. And you know what, Tim? They were saying the same thing in 1969 on a separate state. Yeah, it's just like, oh my God, the world's going to end. Now all these appointments are going to be made. I'm sure it was the same thing. We should ask Mom that. Yeah, and you know what? It wasn't the end of the world.
The world did not end. I mean, we've been. It's not been horrible that And the weird thing is like as I read more, the thing that they seemed to differentiate on was the liberal court, or at least what they portrayed the Democrats as pushing for, was one that was had a lot of power. Would take very basic wording. Most laws are written very. Hey, Bobby Joe has joined.
Bobby
Joe's joined. Bobby, welcome to Only on Fridays. We were discussing just a moment ago Todd being in diapers at a late age, and now we've moved back to more serious topics.
It's such a vicious lie, man.
Hey, I'm just saying it was true. I seem to recall. I can't say because Mom would have to weigh in on this, and she's not saying anything. So maybe if she calls in, we can get a clear statement of who was out of diapers first, who really
I think
potty trained first.
She doesn't remember the diapers, but when we had our superhero outfits on, even at that young age, we were saving the world.
Exactly. That is true.
Yes. That's what it was. So
yeah. But so the interesting thing was that they've held the court for such a long time, and I was saying to myself, well, is it wrong to basically have a period of time in history where we have a more judicial empowered group, right? Where they interpret, instead of it being very focused like Trump's, the explanation last night in the debate, where the way they settle cases is exactly the way the founding fathers would have interpreted what they wrote. They would have been written from the perspective of a man in that time period, versus like the progressive thinking or the empowered justices believe they can look at what's happening today and translate what the intent probably should be, and then they begin to evolve past what was actually written in the Constitution.
Yeah, but here's the bottom line, Tim, is you can't control what people are going to do. These guys are lawyers and chief justices and justices on the Supreme Court. They're real good at what they do, and they're not going to rule consistently all the time one way. They're going to do their job, and they're going to evaluate things, and they're going to rule on them. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. It's like the gunslingers that are unspoken of. They're like the silent ninjas of our government.
I'm going headphoneless now. I'm kind of nervous.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh no.
I don't even need them. I realized I didn't need them because I unplugged you earlier. But so when I after I started looking at, so then I looked at specific cases to try to understand. Okay, let's go with the theory of Mom's questioning what bubble are you in. I don't think she liked your recent rant there, Todd.
Mom she gets all upset about something, but if I don't know.
So you're going to stand with what you said. It's okay. It's okay. But so as I looked at the cases, what I was trying to understand was what if you look back and said, well, what if it would have been a liberal court? Would we have chosen the cases differently? And looking forward, if it's a liberal court, will we make decisions different that are notable? And that's what you saw in the summary that I wrote up. I don't know if anybody has any comments about certain cases. But what I did see was right after Nixon left, some of the big themes. If you scroll down, I kind of put them in time ascending order. But the judicial, the liberal court was basically solving things like the abortion concept came through, sex discrimination, labor union recognition being simpler, school desegregation, and then redistricting of making sure one vote, one person, where a district size and voting power is equal to the number of people that live there. In some cases, like in Virginia, even today, they have basically put in certain voters in one district, and then they spread all the other districts for their people. So there might be way more people right here.
That's what they call it.
Yeah, and so if the liberal court would have been in place, those aspects, again, abortion, sex discrimination, labor union law, desegregation, redistricting, those core issues were actually in play in the lower courts when Nixon got to do his appointments, and then as soon as those guys came in, boom, they stopped them all. It was very interesting. It was very interesting. So I was like, so when you look at, well, what does it mean to have the opportunity to have a court actually go back to being liberal again? Your last reference point is what that group did from 1950-ish to about 1968. That's what you're looking at. That's what you're looking at, not because of how many are probably going to, hey, Susie Oplin joined.
Oh, really?
What's up? I would have thought her sister would join, but we'll take her surrogate. I love the word surrogate. Todd, have you noticed I haven't noticed in any election before, but they call all these people that run around and basically are mouthpieces for the people surrogates. Yeah. I love it. I was like, that's a great name.
Actually, we're anti-surrogate, Tim.
We are? Why is that? Why are we anti-surrogate?
Because we're supposed to not take sides.
You're saying that's what we are. We are a mouthpiece for no one.
Yeah, we're the anti-surrogate.
Wow, Susie Oplin gave us a thumbs up right there. So thumbs up back to you. Here, I'm going to try to send her. I'm going to send her some bubble thumbs. Some thumbs up right there, Susie. That's how you do it. But yeah.
But
so anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, on the Supreme Court, it's just like, how do you dress this up and make it interesting? But it's very interesting, Joe. Yeah, it's kind of like the mafia. You don't talk about this.
It is the mafia.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess we could go back to Mom's point of like Citizens United. And what was funny is I wrote articles about Citizens United only on Fridays way back in 2009 or 2010 when it passed. And at the time I was like, oh my God, it's the end of the world.
It was pretty close.
Money's going to flow in. It's just going to be, foreign powers are going to take over. I thought it was the worst thing ever. And really, I thought it was all going to be the Republicans getting the benefit. And really, it's the opposite.
Yeah.
The Democrats have been the ones that have really benefited, at least so far, in the money raising from
what?
Yep.
No.
Yep.
No. I think what happened, Tim, is that caused it because you have unlimited money on one side.
I'm just saying they've leveraged, in terms of getting money from the PACs and from corporations, the Democrats have done more with it. And it hasn't been, but it's not greatly skewed for either party, which was what you were worried about. What I was worried about is that the rich parties, the guys with disposable income, would create huge war chests and then slam it in there. And that really hasn't happened. You don't have evidence of that. You don't see it.
Corporate interests
no,
have
I'm not
a
sure
larger
about
voice
it.
than the individual.
Mom's asking if I'm sure about that.
She's not happy.
She thinks the Tea Party benefited from it. But I don't think it's been... But see, my point is I haven't seen gross misconduct, nor anyone talking about gross misconduct within Citizens United. It is documented that public opinion of Citizens United is very negative. Hugely negative.
Right. I used to, let's just break it down.
Hey, Anita Simpson joined. Got to give a high five out to Anita. Right?
Who?
Here, Anita Simpson.
Really? And Anita. Rock on. That means Uncle Chuck's on, too.
That means she gave up watching the Rachel Maddow show. We are now acting instead of Rachel Maddow live. That's a high five. I got to click the like button there. There you go.
Yeah. We're competing with Rachel. That's awesome.
Well, when you're competing with Rachel Maddow, you're basically going to lose. You're going to lose. You're going to lose a lot of them. But yeah. So, so I went through more of it. I was like, okay, Citizens United, I couldn't see really a strong case for reversing it. And then I couldn't see. Now the dark money bothers me. The dark money.
Really?
Oh, they're on commercial.
Okay.
And Mom is now accusing me of Koch brothers. She's now saying the Koch brothers are using Citizens United.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
But you don't see...
Here's my reference right here, Tim. You ready? Let's look at my wallet, see how much I can contribute today for whatever party I want to go. I got $1. That's what I got.
Let me see what I got. Hang on.
Citizens United.
Hang on. I'll check what I got.
Yeah, okay.
I think I got more because I played poker the other night. Hold on.
Yeah.
Check this out. I got like $80.
Dude, you won a poker.
No, I lost actually. I went in with more.
You won a poker. But anyway, so Tim, my thing is
Hey, Jason Allen.
But these corporate interests have got like billions or millions or hundreds of millions. But
you don't see it. The point is there's no evidence of that corporate money flowing.
I can't buy.
Your dollar has nothing to do with this. Your dollar has nothing to... I'm glad you have a dollar. Let's get this covered. I'm glad you have a dollar.
Okay.
There's no, you cannot look at the financial contributions and say, wow, there's a massive influx of money because of Citizen United.
Well, if you could be bought...
That's uneven. It's uneven. Let me add the one word, uneven. Uneven influx of money.
If your vote could be bought, right, and you own a politician...
And it can be.
Are you going to go for my dollar, or are you going to go for unlimited funds?
More. I want more.
Exactly.
So you're...
And that's the problem with that law.
Okay. But I do think Hillary, who looks to be going to be elected, I do think who she appoints will probably review Citizens United and will probably pull it in.
Right.
But the weird thing is that you don't want, it was weird that actually overturned a bill by our man Feingold. Feingold and McCain put that bill, the 2002 campaign refinance bill. That's what the court overturned.
Right. Exactly. Feingold's a good man.
Hey, Sherry. Anyway. Welcome, Sherry McIntosh Stevens.
Really?
Yeah. Carmen's friends joined Republicans. So now there's our Missourian Republicans. Sherry was actually posting about how important the Supreme Court was in your vote decisions, and that's why I think it's important for both parties to understand. As you look at the 45 years of a conservative court, one hand you got to say, wouldn't it be nice just to give? I mean, just if you step back and take your party hat off, and you say, in the balances of power, shouldn't there be a period of time when it's not a conservative court? Hey, and Brian Foote from GNR, alumni.
One would think that that's going to be the case because that's how.
Now, some people might argue that the conservative court should be conservative. That's the very nature of the court. It should always be based on exactly what the Constitution has written, not interpreted.
Well, see, this is the interesting part, though, because to me it's like, really, come on. Yeah, we're not living in 1700s. But there are people out there that are purists. I mean, and they're just like, oh, the document is just how they wrote it. You know?
Oh, and you know what? Aunt Nan sent me an article. She does not want to be called out on... Oh, I just did it, didn't I? She does not want to be called out on the stream. But she sent me an article talking about... It's at the bottom of the blog post where some I think it was... I forget the actual periodical that did it. But they looked at if you actually took an originalist view on the judicial postings, which means that you put a judge in that only goes by what is said, what the words were, and what they meant at the time they were written, right? The Trump view, the conservative view of it. Or at least that's an aspect of what that type of court wants. They rolled off some of the major laws that are in place that would have to go back. They'd have to roll them back. And there's some big ones. Let me read them off to you. There's...
Tim, I don't think I want to live in the 1700s. I really don't. You know?
So first off, they said the state bans on contraception and abortion would become legal because that's basically the wording of.
I tell you what, my girlfriend would not like it either. She would refuse to live in the 1700s.
Right to remain silent is actually a law or a case law that actually would have to be reversed. Right to remain silent would have to go.
Would have to go. Yeah.
So it's just it's interesting when you think about what does it mean to read the Constitution and live from that perspective? And then what laws are already in place that were passed by prior courts and have just sat there, important ones like right to remain silent, that are based on interpretation, like expansion from what was written.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But and that's one of the interesting things too. Is just based on what court it is what cases are they going to look at too, Tim? What's important to a conservative court versus a liberal court? All those things, it's boring stuff.
Yeah, and mom brought that up earlier. Is that where I was looking at the sampling of cases that I thought were noteworthy and how the conservative courts decided and then what a liberal court would do. Mom pointed out, one of the biggest things they do is they decide what they're going to look at.
Right. Exactly.
So of the each year the Supreme Court looks at somewhere between 80 and 130 cases.
Right.
They look at them, but there's I think there's 6,000 to 7,000 that apply to be reviewed, and so you can guess what that like a pro business court would be looking at business cases. A pro civil rights court would be looking for that.
Right.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Mom wants to go back to a slavery state. She feels that the woman is over empowered in the current time. Oh wait, I'm reading it wrong. Had it backwards.
Hey, let's go back to who the favorite son is.
Dyslexia. I was reading, but it was strange because I thought it was weird that she was writing that, and I was like, but I was just going to read it.
Wait, that's not Mom. Has Dad said it? Yeah.
No,
yeah.
Dad's not saying anything, right?
Yeah.
He's quietly sitting back there.
But yeah, no, on the different cases, that's one of the things, affirmative action's one of the things coming up. Citizens United, I read all your stuff. And then I found myself digressing, Tim, because, it's kind of, I'm not a lawyer, and, it's hard to, be excited about this stuff. But you have to be excited, right? But then I went off on a tangent on who the most funny Supreme Court justice was. And you know who that was in the recent court?
Is this your opinion or like on a poll?
Oh, no, this is on many media sources. Hands down winner.
Funniest Supreme Court.
Funnier, and they're not funny people, Tim. But this justice was hands down, by and large,
the funniest.
Better than any other justice in the last 4 years.
Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas.
Ready?
Clarence Thomas.
He didn't speak for 7 years, dude.
That's funny. That is a very well timed joke, man.
That is funny. But it's just fed up if you're not going to listen to me.
Hey, man. That's a joke. Joke's on you. I can't talk.
But, yeah, Sam Alito. Yeah.
The guy. Yeah.
Comedian. Yeah, exactly. Who
So
knew?
you feel comedians should be important to the process?
No, absolutely not. But that's where I found myself going off on a tangent today. So, but at least you have that nugget of information now. And that's him. I think that should be part of it. They do need to have some personality to this. That way people will actually read about it, and because it's important.
Oh, Dad wants to know if there should be term limits for the justices.
Nope. I disagree with that one.
Throw it out.
Set up just the way the founding fathers said.
Nope. So in this case, we do want to go with what the founding fathers said, even though their viewpoint was 200 years ago. And
well, what's Dad's premise? That they lived less then, or what?
I guess he feels like they don't turn over quick. You can't change the Supreme
was
Court
it because the
quickly.
average lifespan was 32 back in the 1700s, or what? Or what is it?
There's been a lot of changes that would be you can't really, the House of Representatives used to be a representative per person was way smaller, and now it's just overwhelming. And they capped it at 435, and it's kept growing. It doesn't matter. It's not realistic anymore to be a representative. They don't do their job really. I digress, but yes, Dad, I would agree with Todd. We do not want term limits on the justices. Just like the Senate guys have longer periods than the House, you want to be kind of insulated from the sway of the masses.
Absolutely. They set it up that way. And I was also reading another article where they said, there was big fights on the Supreme Court all the way back.
No, Dad says Wisconsin has. Dad pointed out Wisconsin has 10 years. Why not 10? I guess I don't know if that's our biggest problem. Term limits on the Supreme Court. I don't really see that as unless you're trying to create a more reasonable back and forth.
What these guys are
They
trying
do
to
not have to
get
retire.
Susan
Susan was asking, do they have to retire at a certain age? They do not.
That's the big thing.
They can actually choose.
In there. Huh?
The Supreme Court justices do not have to retire until they choose.
Right, but I mean,
look at Ginsburg. That woman
that's
is
not
old.
That's not like working for Google where you're having a good time all the time. That's a pretty
I think Ginsburg's
somber
having a good
place.
time.
But I think that it should be for life
Required.
when they want to retire.
Yeah, but so I don't know. So I think though, as everybody looks at this, we've been going at this talking a little bit now. I don't know, 10, 20 minutes, something like that. But as you look at it from either party and look at the list of cases, really, even though probably it's looking like Hillary's going to get elected, 90% odds, some say 80% odds, something like that. But if she does, she's going to, then there's going to be a question of, I think, as each party looks at it, if the GOP or if on the flip side the Dems were in the Senate and didn't like who was being appointed, really at some point, here's another question, and maybe it's our last question for today, is what is the role of the Senate? in the appointment process? Should they have to basically advise and counsel, but basically not have the power to veto? Which is kind of like reading between the gray lines. It's really not clearly stated whether or not they have that right, but they're doing it.
Yeah, but like this Senate is the first time this has ever happened where they have an appointment that needs to be made, and it's the Supreme Court justice. And they say, no, we're not going to do this because, Obama's in office right now. And he's chosen someone who refused to do this.
But they wrote, but McCain and other guys, the other guys are already saying, hey, if Clinton wins,
right,
we're basically saying we may stall for a while.
Well, they can stall if they want to, but at the same time, it wasn't designed that way. If you don't get your way, you don't get to throw a tantrum and get your way. That's what that is. And put your big boy pants on.
I would just be curious, for the minority party, or the party that feels like they're not in control of how the Supreme Court's going to move, right? Because they didn't win presidency, and they don't control, but they do control the Senate.
Yeah.
Should they be able to block the appointments?
No, I don't think so. I think they should have to do their job.
Nan agrees. Nan actually commented and said they need to do their job. Now here's a flip to that, right? So Nan is an independent / Democrat leaning person. So here's a little challenge to that party. Remember when Wisconsin, we had the whole hoo-ha about all the senators got up and left the state so they didn't have to vote?
I remember that, yeah.
Does anyone remember that? And my thought was that is the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Get back there and vote. You lost the election. You're the minority.
At the time, but at the same time, now looking back at it, it's, they didn't do their job. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. So
but it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing when you see that behavior in Wisconsin. You weren't mad about it as a Democrat when they did it in Wisconsin. You cannot be mad at the GOP when they do it in the Senate.
Right.
Everybody has to do their job, or nobody does their job. Right?
Damn, I hate to say it, but you ready? You're right. You're right, Tim.
Yeah, I know. I know. Yeah. Hey, Chris Wolford. Long time no see. Chris Wolford joined the stream.
Yeah.
Welcome to Only on Fridays, Chris, where we talk about stupid things occasionally intermixed with some political talk. We're almost done, so you're lucky. You're in luck, because the hot topic today was Senate and its association to the Supreme Court.
Well, that was the last topic.
Yeah.
It was a hot topic.
It was a hot topic.
Hot topic.
Another thing that the Supreme Court, again, if you're worried about appointments and who you're going to vote for, some people are pointing to the executive power growing, right?
Right.
And so the Supreme Court's starting to look at that and trying to decide to tail it in.
Right.
And I would say it's a moot question because both parties use it the same.
Well, they're both trying to get their way. They're doing partisan politics, and they believe in their party more than the other. That's just the way life is in anything, right? You want to be right, and you want to get your way. And fortunately, the founding fathers set it up where it's not that type of system where it polices itself. And the people are supposed to do that. It's just like,
But this is talking about, Todd, Obama will sidestep the usual legislative process and basically.
Well, you know what? And I think people try to do good things, but they're biased. It's not supposed to be that way. There's supposed to be a limit of powers. Absolutely. And guess what? And it gets through the police force that says, no, that's not going to happen. As the Supreme Court. And
so you agree in both cases. The Supreme Court is the one that should rein in the president if he's using his powers too much.
Absolutely. No,
rein in. Oh, okay. I get what you're saying.
So,
okay, I get it.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the presidential powers, they both abuse them. They can, But the Supreme Court needs to slap the hand every so often and say, no, we're not doing this. They're the rule keepers. When we were playing Monopoly growing up, Tim, we would cheat. Or I'll throw myself.
No, I cheated.
We would cheat, but Mom would be the Supreme Court and read the rules and say, no, you don't get to do that, Todd. These are the rules. That's what the Supreme Court does. So
it's a rule setter.
Yep, and they interpret the law.
So we're agreeing that if your stance is whoever's in Senate, that their party doesn't control the presidency and doesn't like the appointment of a Supreme Court justice they should review, give proper feedback, and then basically for the good of the country, accept a candidate.
Yep, absolutely.
But then in the same transition, we should never see, excessive like walking out of the state like we did in Wisconsin, where they don't like what's going on.
There should be
this whole shenanigans of like stopping government because I don't like it, I'm in the minority, is not a good use of power.
Go in there and do your job. That's it.
There's different ways to solve problems. That one is not it.
I behave that way. If I went on strike and said, "Hey, I'm not going to work today because I don't like where I'm working or whatever it is," guess what I am? I'm not working there anymore.
Yeah, you'd be done, Todd.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a very sad thing.
So anyway, I guess that's all of our topics for today.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah.
You got anything else you want to say about it?
Phone calls, man. No phone calls.
You don't have to get. We've talked for 36 minutes. If they don't want to call in,
I know
it's okay.
The Supreme Court, it's a rough one.
Well,
But
next week you can do your topic, and it'll be so exciting that people want to call in.
You picked the Supreme Court. That's a hard one. How do you liven that up, Tim? How do you liven it up?
I wanted to know, so too bad. I don't care what everybody else wants to hear about.
Yeah, exactly. But they are like the gunslingers. They really are. How does that go?
Exactly. So do you have an idea yet, Todd, for your topic for next week?
I will give you no hints.
Do you even have an idea, though? Do you even have a clue?
I'm not telling you anything.
Todd, do you even have a clue of what you're...
Dude, I'm like Yoda. I know what I'm going to talk about. Like
I've met Yoda, and you're no Yoda.
But I might give you a hint, Jim. Maybe later. I don't know.
Okay, well, we'll all have to wait in suspense, much like we're waiting in suspense to see if Trump will accept, if he loses, that he's lost. We'll also wait in suspense for what you're going to talk about or post up research-wise next Friday, all right?
Exactly. You all have a great weekend, and
we'll talk to you next week. See ya.